that for the third day in a row, no deaths have been reported due to the COVID-19 pandemic.
And yesterday, the ministry also reported that 45 new cases were reported with a 7-day average down from 27 to 33.
As of yesterday, 7,576 cases had been reported in the country, with a recovery of 5,783.
And a total of 224 deaths has so far been recorded since the pandemic started early this year.
We are also going to be looking at other hot breaking news. That is the recalling of dozens of city councillors by the opposition MDCT and the People's Democratic Party, or PDP.
Yes, we are going to look into those two issues with our guests, and we hope to hear their views on these two subjects.
Yes, Mr. Wande, siyadibana labalaleli labakhangele ukubana namhlanje kuhlelo lwethu lwe-Diaspora Forum sikhangela-ke indaba ezitshiyeneyo. Siqala-ke ngendaba COVID-19 kumbe i-coronavirus, yona esibulele abantu abedlula amakhulu amabili eZimbabwe, 224. Futhi-ke asebelegcikwane leli, abatholakale belegcikwane leli izolo, amanani akhona atshengisa ukubana sebengu-7,576, futhi asebesindile kuleli gcikwane bayi-5,783. Mr. Wande.
Yes, vatereri, nhasi tinoda kutarisa nyaya mbiri. Yekutanga inyaya yevanhu ma-councillors nama-MPs vari kuramba vachiitwa vachibudiswa mumakanzuro nomuparamende, iri nyaya vanoti recalling yevanhu vakaelektwa, asi pozoita zvimwe zvibingamupinyi zvinoita kuti vadzorwe nebato rinenge riri ravo. Saka ndonyaya toda kutarisa kuti tione kuti zvinhu zvakamira sei, chinofanira nechisingafaniri kuitwa ndechipi, tigozodazve kutarisa nenyaya yeCovid-19 muZimbabwe, kuti iri kufamba sei, zvose zvinofanira kuitwa zviri kuitwa here, kana kuti pane zvimwe zvinoda kuti zviitwe. Tichapanana mazano nenyaya iyoyo. Mr. Gande.
Yes, Mr. Wande. First, to kick the ball rolling, we have Mr. Innocent Ndivali, who is, let me pull up Mr. Ndivali. Anyway, I think I'm having a bit of a problem with Mr. Ndivali. We are going to pull him up, but for now, let's try and talk to Mr. Regis Vusango. Mr. Vusango, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
Thank you so much, Mr. Vusango. Mr. Wande, is all yours.
Yeah. Tanga matitaurira titarise nyaya yemakanzura.
Yeah, for some reason I can't hear Mr. Wande. I can hear you, but Mr. Wande, I cannot hear him.
Okay. Iko zvino muri kundinzwa? Vachakubira muri kundinzwa here? Muri kundinzwa? Vacharumbira muri kundinzwa here? No, nofunga kuti Mr. Gandhi, muri kundinzwa?
Let's pull up Mr. Ndivali and see if we can get Mr. Ndivali.
But your volume is very low.
My volume is very low?
Yes.
Let me pull it. How about now?
Yeah, it's much better now.
Okay. So, Mr. Ndivali, you are in the United Kingdom, and we understand schools have reopened. What is the situation like regarding the coronavirus?
Yes, the situation in United Kingdom and in Europe in general has improved. The situation is such that city by city, there are some variation in which the lockdown is being enforced. Take, for example, I am in Manchester. Manchester is not under lockdown, but some cities not very far from Manchester, cities such as Bolton, are on a lockdown, and I hear Birmingham and Sandwell are in lockdown. So the situation is not as severe, and the death toll among our people is not as severe as it was at the beginning of this pandemic. So the situation in general has improved. Children have gone back to school, and however, there are enforcement of social distancing, use of PPE equipment, use of sanitizer, and use of masks. So there is an enforcement, and schools are kind of staggered, grades are staggered, so that there is no severe congestion in schools. But we see the involvement of the local authorities, officials, with the involvement of social services, NHS, health services. They are all working together as one system to prevent the loss of lives, to prevent any spread of this pandemic. So we see a difference in the way that this thing is being dealt with as compared to what is happening in our own respective countries.
Hello? Can you hear me?
I can hear you, yes.
All right. I wanted to find out what are the authorities doing from the point the student leaves school? Is there any follow-up? Do they get involved once the student leaves the school?
Right. So what is happening is that I want to give you a scenario. I've got a daughter who is about 13 years old. She started school, I think it was last week, Friday. So what happened is that we were consulted as parents, and we were assured that measures have been put in place to ensure that our children are going to be safe. So there has been a communication between the school and the parents. So parents were even invited to come to the school to see what exactly has been put in place to ensure that our children are going to be safe. So when they go to school, there was supervision of teachers as they enter to ensure that they are not, congested, to ensure that they are putting on PPE, to ensure that they were not actually too close to one another, which is what you see the local authority, you see schools officials, teachers, and so on, making sure that when they enter the school, they are supervised. And when they're in classes, what I've noted is that classes have been reduced, say from about 20, 25 children in a class to about maybe about 15, 13 children in a class with clearly, labeled stations for each child, to the extent that when then they finish school or when they go on lunch, there is a minimization of use of cash. So there is more promotion of using contactless cards or using other means of making payments for their food. And the seating arrangement in the canteen and so on is very spaced. And then you've got, when they leave school, there is also a system where they make sure that kids are not coming too much together, and they are continuously advised to go home without actually, loitering around the school, so that they prevent the the possibility of spread. And when they get into buses, they are advised to sit accordingly, because buses have reduced the amount of people who are going in, compared to like what we see in our country where Zoom calls are so congested. But buses, a bus that usually take about 30 people is now taking about 7, 8. So there is that implementation. When the child gets home, at times the school will call just to make sure that the child has arrived home safely, and also talk to parents to ensure that there is implementation of washing our hands regularly and using sanitizer. So I find that Manchester, obviously local authorities are different. It could be that other local authorities are also implementing different measures, but on the whole, the United Kingdom appear to have got a handle onto this, and they appear to be very much inclusive in so as to ensure that children are safe.
Okay, yeah. Earlier this year, we saw a number of Zimbabweans who died because of COVID-19, especially those who work in the health industry. Now, how has the situation changed? Are we still getting any Zimbabweans, nurses and doctors succumbing to the virus?
The situation has absolutely changed. We are not getting any serious reports of our people losing lives. I'm a very much involved community leader. I'm also a businessman, and I employ staff who provide social services to various local authorities across the country. So I'm very much aware that there's been a reduction in the reporting of our people losing lives, because you will notice that our people are also at the front line. They work directly within NHS hospitals. They work directly through providers of social care and health. They also work directly in other areas, which is those areas are actually putting them in the front line. So we have not received really concerning figures of our people losing lives, and I'm not aware this week, or I'm not very much aware of, I'm also in touch with an organization called Zimbabwe Diaspora Focus Group, headed by Mrs. Duve, which is quite active in the community, and I have not had any concerns from her. So I'm very much confident that the numbers have reduced. However, the loss of lives that we saw through, the social media, as well as other platforms, it is regrettable that we lost people that we knew. I knew, for example, a comrade, who was quite active in the community, who succumbed to this pandemic.
How has been the reaction of the parents? Have they been very cooperative? Are they not afraid though?
I think as parents, because I'm a parent myself, I am as concerned, because I'm not only a parent in Europe, I'm a parent in Africa as well, because I've got extended families, I've got my brother's children. And so as a parent, we are generally concerned, regardless of who you are, whether you are black or you are white or you are whatever color. We are as concerned, because this pandemic appear to be still there, and it appears that we must continue to observe those guidelines that we are being given by the World Health Organization of social distancing, washing our hands regularly, wearing masks, social distancing. So we are as concerned. But our children, as our commander-in-chief, you will remember, Comrade Julius Malema in South Africa, he did say that the problem is that our children, they meet before they get to school sometimes, and they meet within the school premises to the extent that the risk of the pandemic spreading, if it's not well managed, are real and they are serious. So we are as concerned as what the Commander-in-Chief Julius Malema in South Africa alluded to.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ndivali. Please do stay online. We are going to get back to you. Now, Mr. Wande, we have our guest. We have Mr. Is it Mobako? He is right here with us. Just
There is Dr. Aranga
Dr.
from North Carolina.
Yes, so go ahead, Mr. Wande. Introduce your guest.
Dr. Aranga, how are you, sir?
I'm doing fine, Mr. Wande. Hello, fellow African men.
Yes. We thank you very much for taking the time away from your patients. We hope we did not interfere with too much of your work, but we thank you so much for making yourself available to us on this program. As I told you, we are discussing two issues here. The first one is the one that we are dealing with right now about the COVID-19. With the schools, many schools in many countries are opening, including South Africa, Zimbabwe, here in the United States. So we are discussing that. From your perspective as a medical doctor, what do you see, what problems do you foresee when students are brought together like this? And do you think that enough has been done by either any one of those countries? Do you think that enough has been done to protect these children from infecting each other?
Thank you, Mr. Wande, and thank you for having me today. I know there's a lot of activity, but we need to be looking out for our children, our brothers and sisters across the continent. When it comes to children going back to school and so forth, I think the reality is that if you have an economy that's not functional and you have a healthcare delivery system that's also not functional, that's gonna affect how much preparation we put into the measures that are needed to protect kids against COVID-19. So you would find that if kids go back to school, they need to be social distancing, they need to be wearing face masks, they need to be practicing basic hygiene. So if you have an economic environment where it's a challenge to just get clean water on an ordinary day, it's gonna be more difficult to get kids back in school when they need to be observing all these measures. So I am concerned that we can have kids back in school without proper measures in place. And that's going to be a challenge, particularly in Zimbabwe. Maybe South Africa may be better placed than Zimbabwe, of course. But I think it's an issue that we all need to come together and say, how do we do it properly? Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ranga. Thank you so much. Mr. Gande?
Yes, we unfortunately, I don't know if we are going to be joined by some politicians, but yes, you know, Mr. Wande, we already have Mr. Ndivali. He is a member of the EFF, Economic Freedom Fighters, the Zimbabwe branch of the party.
I saw the colors.
Okay. Yeah, so maybe we'll touch a bit on what are their views on the recalling by the MDCT and the PDP of council members, and of course they have also called members of parliament. But what's your take, Mr. Ndivali, on the latest recalling?
Yeah, our view has always been very clear regarding the MDC. We have said that the MDC, regardless of which MDC, the MDC as a political institution has failed. This political party has failed our people for the last 20 years. They failed our people in the sense that they've been governing local authorities such as Bulawayo for the past years, and we have seen unprecedented levels of corruption. We have seen theft. We have seen a poor governance, really incompetence of a terrible magnitude. So we remain very clear that, look, the issue of recall, as far as we are concerned, yes, it is an MDC issue, but it becomes an issue for every Zimbabwean because it has a potential of destabilizing service provision in various local authorities. But now, the question is, what is better, to continue with the rot, the corrupt, to continue misquarading as if they are running, really providing services, or have these incompetent MPs recalled? I believe for Bulawayo, it is probably in the best interest of our city, or it is in the best interest of Harare to ensure that certain individuals are recalled. I would have wanted to recall the entire MDC because it is a party indeed that has failed our people. It is a party ine umbava, ine ubusela phakathi. So at the end of the day, we believe that yes, there are possibilities of destabilizing issues. We've seen in Bay Bridge, we've seen in other local authorities in Mutare and so on. But at the end of the day, I believe that if a judgment has been put by a court of law, of which we've subjected ourselves to the processes and we recognize those institutions, I believe that we must not, see such processes as processes that are unconstitutional. Those processes, I believe that, although it is an MDC issue, I do not want it to be an EFF issue. But for us, we are happy that in a number of local authorities, MPs have been very incompetent. I'm talking about the MPs, for example, in my constituency, where I hail from, in Magwekwe, the MP is very incompetent. Anele is very incompetent. The councillors are very incompetent. We've seen it in Luveve. They were feeding, or they were sleeping, at work. Abantu benatha amanzi alengcekeza ephuma ebantwini. We lost a number of people eLuveve who died. We participated in the burial of a number of individuals in Luveve because of MDC. I think we must be clear that MDC caused the death of those people in Luveve by providing shoddy and poor services. So recall is justified to a certain extent. Our only worry is the people of Zimbabwe, because it is the people of Zimbabwe who are going to continue to suffer in the hands of MDC. What Zimbabwe requires now is a new political party like EFF Zimbabwe. We are very clear that we stand for the poor. We are a political party that is championing the position of the poor. We want to move the economy from the hands of the few to the hands of many. So EMDC is a capitalist, a party that is so obsessed with amassing so much profit to themselves at the expense of our people. So a recall really is not an issue to worry or write home about. If Dr. Cooper has been empowered to do so, we believe that if she's indeed been recognized by the laws of the land as the leader of the MDC, who are we to say she's not? So we will continue to cooperate with the MDC that is recognized by the constitution and by the laws of the country. But however, we still believe that the MDC alliance, which Nelson Chamisa, we still believe that he's got a role to play in terms of taking Zimbabwe forward. But we believe MDC is as corrupt. So whether they are recalled or they are not recalled, they are as useless.
Oh, thank you so much. Unfortunately, I just received a call from Mr. Dan Moyo, who is the MDCT representative here in the United States. He was supposed to join us. I'm sure he was going to respond to you very effectively. But unfortunately, like I'm saying, he said a meeting which he hadn't foreseen, it just started, so he can't be joining us. I don't know, Mr. Wande, if you have any...
Dr. Ranga is a member of the executive for MDC Alliance North America. You might want to put in a word in there. Dr. Ranga Muribwere.
Ndiripo, Mr. Wande.
Right.
Thank you very much. My brother Ngiwane, you know, the one thing that Zimbabweans miss.
No, I'm not Nkiwane, comrade. I'm not Nkiwane. My name is Innocent Luchucha Ndivane.
Ndivane, I'm so sorry. I'm trying to get your name right. Thank you. What I would speak to is the fact that everything should boil down to service delivery. Unfortunately for Zimbabwe, everything has collapsed, whether it's the healthcare delivery system, whether it's economic delivery at local, at national level. So at every aspect of the Zimbabwean life is not normal. So we have to acknowledge that when we are talking about these issues. Of course, I'm a member of the MDCA Alliance, and we run cities, we run a lot of local communities. That is correct. However, I think that simplifying everything to say, well, MDCA people killed these people because they didn't get clean water and so forth, I think that's kind of a stretch. What we should be thinking about is, why do we have a country that's not functional? We should have a country where healthcare is not a political issue. It's not a political issue in many countries. Yes, you can talk about policy decisions. Like, well, we want the Affordable Care Act. We don't want it like here in America. But when you go to a hospital, nobody says, are you a member of the EFF? Or are you a member of the MDC? Are you a member of ZANU-PF? No, we take care of everyone. And in a functional society, the question of politics never really comes in. Unfortunately for Zimbabwe, we have reduced everything, attributing it to individuals. We have individuals at national level who are not performing, at local level who are not performing. But what we should be asking as Zimbabweans is, how do we get a functional system, whether it's infrastructure in the cities, whether it's healthcare throughout the country, whether it's supplying clean water to our people? That is the question of the day. So when you talk about recalls, this is being done by individuals, MDCT, you know, under the pretext of a Supreme Court ruling. The law may be one thing, and people have interpreted the Supreme Court decision in so many different ways. What I would say is, what do the people of Zimbabwe say? And the question is, you know, do they think that the people, the politicians who are recalling these councillors and members of parliament, they have a better solution for the country? Are they doing it in the interest of the ordinary citizen in Bulawayo, in Harare, in Bedbridge, everywhere? That's really the question. We can always choose our political leaders, but let it be a process that is open, that is free, that is fair. Unfortunately, in Zimbabwe currently, I think it's what we call a scorched earth policy. Today, my brother may be looking at the MDCA and saying, oh, these people did something wrong. That's why this is happening to them. The truth of the matter is we don't have a functional, legal, constitutional system in Zimbabwe. It's dog eat dog. Those in charge of the government are doing everything in their power to just disrupt everything. But how is this helping the ordinary citizen in Bulawayo? I don't think it is doing that. Yes, you're gonna ask councillors, members of parliament to be accountable to the people because they are the people who voted them in. Even those who didn't vote for them, they still need representation by them. So when we recall these members of parliament or councillors, what do the people say? You may feel like you have the right to do that, but what do ordinary Zimbabweans say? That's what I would say in a nutshell. Thank you.
Mr. Gande,
Yes, sir.
I don't know, Mr. Charumbira is saying that he can't hear anything. I don't know if he's online.
No, he's not.
He's not. Okay. Yeah, he's the chairman of ZANU-PF North America, and we wanted his input, but I think he's having connectivity problems. It would have been interesting for him to see what, to weigh in on what the two gentlemen just said to us about this issue. Anyway, the recalling, I want to pick on the point that Dr. Ranga mentioned, that the recalling of these councillors and the MPs, is it being done for underperforming, or is being done for something else that has nothing to do with the performance except for political history, I would say, because this has been going on for a while. So is the recalling centered on lack of performance, or is it because of some legal issues that are in existence between these two political parties?
Can I come in there?
Yeah, that's for you. That question is for you, sir.
Yes. Okay. You see, if it were not for MDC incompetence, we wouldn't be here. Why I'm saying this, these guys should have gone to their congresses, they should have elected themselves or voted in to take over from Dr. Richard Tsvangirai. But what they did, all of them, they messed it up. They started fighting. They started creating a situation where they did not care about the people of Zimbabwe. It should not be that now they care more about the Zimbabwean people, yet they did not care after President Tsvangirai passed on. So it should be ahead very clearly that MDC got us here, not ZANU-PF, not EFF Zimbabwe, not ZAPU, not any other political party. They got us here. So now that they ended up in court together, fighting one another, and a court took a decision. It has nothing to do with any other political party, EFF, ZANU-PF. It is mainly to do between them. It is to do between Comrade Chamisa and Comrade Makupe. Okay, it has nothing to do with anyone. So now they should not come to us and saying that it would destabilize this, the people who voted this. How come if they knew that they have the mandate of the people, they should have ensured that after Comrade Tsvangirai passed on, they should have handled this matter in a manner that did show that they respect the people of Zimbabwe. But because of greed, selfishness, they decided to fight one another. And when we talk about corruption in Zimbabwe, it must be clear that it is the MDC that is often seen in these courts defending those who would have been arrested, even identified by ZANU-PF itself, that they are corrupt, they must go to prison. We've seen their leaders, including Chamisa himself. It is Comrade Chamisa who was fighting on the side of President Mnangagwa and Zuma, where workers lost their jobs. Let us not forget that. It is Tendai Biti who was representing people like Gideon Gono on corruption charges. It is people like all their lawyers. This is a party of lawyers, very corrupt lawyers who are representing and defending corruption. This is why when you look at local authorities, the boardrooms of local authorities, which must be used to strategize and work for the people, it has now been turned into some dungeons that are used to strategize and scheme strategies of corruption to advance functional fights within MDC.
Mr. Wende, can I jump into that?
Should not come and say, no, the people and so on. These people do not care. We must have MDC go, because since MDC was born, the people of Zimbabwe have suffered more. Tell me one thing that MDC has done. One thing. Nothing. There's absolutely nothing. So these recalls are inconsequential to the people of Zimbabwe.
I'm sure I can't wait to put a word in there.
Yeah, absolutely. My brother, you speak very well. However, my heart bleeds. If you are a Zimbabwean who still believes this is all about MDC, I don't know which country you are referencing. The problems Zimbabweans are suffering are bigger than MDC, ZANU-PF, or EFF. I don't think you have any seats in the country right now as EFF. If you have been in business for so long, political business, I mean, you should have some seats for sure in the country, because people should be believing in your vision. So why I'm saying that is, please, let's not make this about MDC or ZANU-PF. Our country is messed up. We all need to get together as Zimbabweans. Stop this politicking business. We should realize.
But we are talking about recalls.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, I'm getting.
That's
there.
why we're talking about MDC.
Exactly, I'm getting
don't
there.
Don't mislead people saying that I'm attacking MDC.
Okay,
we are talking about recalls.
Let me respond to that. Okay, recalls is just part of a bigger picture. You cannot tell me that today the biggest problem in Zimbabwe is the recalls. That's not the biggest problem that we face as Zimbabweans. We need basic water, whether it's in Cholocho, whether it's in Umzingwane, whether it's in Mutare, whether it's in Beitbridge, whether it's in Harare. That's an issue that is national, okay? We need proper healthcare. Right now, your sister gets sick in some village in Zimbabwe, they're probably gonna die of something that's treatable, just because our economy, our politics, our governance structure is messed up. That is a big issue. So you can talk recalls. Yes, you can make it an internal issue about MDC. What I'm trying to get you to understand, my brother, is that the problems we're enduring are bigger than any one political party. You know, we like more people to be participating in the democratic process, and we welcome the EFF and any other political party that is gonna come into Zimbabwe. We had 23 presidential candidates when we had elections in 2018. So, and we're gonna have more next time. But that's not going to solve our problems. As Zimbabweans, let's start with the basics. What's wrong with our politics? Why do people vote for a member of parliament? And this is true for MDC, It's true for ZANU-PF. It's not just MDC recalling members of parliament. It's happening in ZANU-PF too. So the question is, the people vote for a member of parliament or a councillor. A politician wakes up one morning and says, you know, I don't like the way they talk. I don't think they're still towing the party line. And we end up having those people recalled. No, you know, forget how they are performing at the local or national level. So what we need to really understand is, how is this affecting the ordinary Zimbabwean? And is it may seem right, legally, politically, you can argue and say, oh, Chamisa did this, or Cooper did that, or ED did that. Why do we have a country where these things are normal and yet people go to bed hungry? Where we have women who are pregnant, when they deliver, they die during childbirth. That's a very abnormal. And if we make this a political issue, that's a big problem. So the recall, yes, you can talk about. I'm not going to go into the details of who is right, who is wrong. I think it should still boil down to the people of Zimbabwe. Are we respecting them? Or are we saying, Ranga, it's my turn now, I'm in charge, and I'm going to keep messing anybody who comes in my way? And I think that's what's happening currently. Thank you.
Unfortunately, I don't know, for some reason, we seem to have lost Mr. Ndiwali. Hopefully, he's going to come back again, but for now, he is offline.
I'm here.
You are here?
Yes, I'm here.
Let me, but I can't see you, unfortunately, on the screen. I can't bring you up on the screen. I don't know if maybe you can reload your. Okay, let me try and reload my browser. I still can't see you, but can you hear us? Oh yeah, I got it now. Yeah, I got you now. Okay. So you wanted to respond to what has been said right now?
Yes. I wanted to say to my my comrade that I did not make the problem of Zimbabwe an MDC issue. What I said is that MDC has been governing at local level, and the ZANU-PF has been governing at the national level. That is a fact. And for the last 20 years, MDC has played a part in the governance of local authorities across the country. Very recently, they were telling us that they control, I think, over 20-something local authorities across the country. That is a fact. So all that I'm saying is that partly the MDC is to blame, because ZANU-PF has been in this game for the last 40 years. MDC has been in this game for the last 20 years. So both parties are failures. This is what I'm not defending ZANU-PF. I'm not defending MDC. But what I'm simply saying is that as a country, it is indeed true. I want to agree with you that as a country, we've got a serious problem. It is this serious problem that has invited parties such as the ANC and the government to try and engage the Zimbabwean government. So this is why we have been very clear that let it be an inter-party process from South Africa engaging the Zimbabwean inter-party process that involves all the political players in Zimbabwe. We've been very clear on that one, because we recognize that the problem of Zimbabwe is not a one-party problem. It's a problem that we Zimbabweans must find each other. Okay, some of us who've traveled the world, who've worked across the world, who've amassed so much experience, can take our country forward. This is what I'm saying. But the final point that I want to make is that the MDC is a political party that has always used ZANU-PF as its trump card. If something doesn't work, ZANU-PF. If something, they always say ZANU-PF. But what we are saying to them now, it is a thing of the past. You cannot keep saying that. Why didn't you hold ZANU-PF accountable for the last 20 years? Because you are incompetent, because you do not know what you are doing. You are always fighting, splitting from one split to another. Because of that, you've negated the people in the local authorities. Local authorities, townhouses have been turned into some shabins. People across the country, in Cholocho, you were talking about Cholocho, Mzingwane, and so on. It is the MDC that has been running those local authorities. And believe me, it is those local authorities are much worse than they were before MDC took control of those local authorities. It is a fact. We must not gloss over MDC just because we are in opposition together. No, we will speak out and we will tell MDC that they are as useless, they are as bad as ZANU-PF. So let us find each other. But when we sit down, we, the EFF, we do not mess about, comrade. We will tell your president, Chamisa, that you are messing up. You are failing to hold ED accountable because you say you are the leader of the biggest opposition, but you are failing. Look at South Africa. Julius Malema is governing in South Africa, yet is in opposition because he is resolute. He doesn't gloss over failure. He doesn't accept nonsense. But you see, we see your leader speaking in parables, speaking in a language that some of us, not every Zimbabwean is religious.
But
okay,
Mr. Ndibali,
he is a representative of all Zimbabweans. He must understand that not every Zimbabwean is religious. We believe that he must speak the language that every Zimbabwean will understand, and he must begin to make sense. Because we will not accept nonsense, even in the opposition. We cannot tolerate mediocre politics.
Can I hold you there? You are equating Zimbabwe to South Africa, but can you say the situation is the same? Because in South Africa, they are free to demonstrate, no one is kidnapped, no one is assaulted. But Zimbabwe, once someone tries to do like they're doing in South Africa, people get killed and kidnapped and so forth. So how can you say blame those in Zimbabwe who are not doing what those in South Africa are doing?
Yes, demonstration, comrade, is not the only way of holding the government accountable. There are other processes that are used. There are other principled kind of leadership. Because if today you say that Obadiah Moyo is corrupt, and we agree that is corrupt, and tomorrow when Obadiah Moyo goes to court, you are the very lawyers from the MDC representing, fighting the system, saying that Obadiah Moyo is not corrupt. Then how then will you hold the government to account because you are conflicted at principle level? So what I'm simply saying is that if MDC has been resolute, led by men with, sorry to use the language, men with balls, okay, men with strength, not illegal, whatever it is. But I'll tell you right now that ZANU-PF is not different from ANC. ZANU-PF can be held as accountable as any other political party if you've got leadership with principle, revolutionary leadership that do not accept any nonsense. We have told ZANU-PF that we do not accept nonsense because there is nothing revolutionary about abusing our people. There is nothing revolutionary about violating human rights. We've told ZANU-PF to their face that EFF has arrived. We will not accept any nonsense.
Mr. Ndibali, let's give others a chance. Thank you.
We are supposed, yeah, we want to. I don't know how much time we still have, but just in case, Dr. Ranga, do you want to get in a quick response to that before we wind down?
Sure. My brother, the MDC Alliance has made a lot of mistakes. In terms of serving local authorities, we can do better. I am not disagreeing with you. We can do better. People elect us for that purpose, okay? So if we don't have clean water in Harare, the citizens should be holding us accountable and saying to us, we need clean water, we pay rates, we do all these things so that you guys can deliver. That is correct. However, we should also acknowledge that we just have a system that has collapsed. Zimbabweans, and not only Zimbabweans, even South Africans, the reason why they are rushing to Zimbabwe and say we need to fix this is because we have a crisis on our hands where we almost have a failed state. Okay, as Zimbabweans, if we keep blaming Ranga and blaming my brother one day and so forth, instead of addressing the big elephant in the room, which is that everything has collapsed. So tomorrow, my brother, I hope you get a seat somewhere in Zimbabwe as a member of parliament. But I will tell you that you are likely to fail if the system remains the way it is. So as Zimbabweans, we should all come together and say, what's wrong with our politics? What's wrong with our economics? What's wrong with our healthcare delivery system? Let's start from there. When we have a functional country, we can go to parliament and debate all night long about how to make Zimbabwe a better place. We can go and protest in the streets if we are unhappy with a politician or a councillor, and we can even recall them as citizens, not politicians doing that on our behalf. We should be able to hold all of them accountable. So right now, it is a fact that MDCA leaders are in prison. Job Wiwaskala right now is in prison. Okay, Johanna Mamombe, they had to take her from the hospital to go to a court hearing because she missed a hearing because she's sick. What kind of a country is that? That's what we need to fix first. Once we fix that, we can then talk this democratic purity, you know, where we can compete about ideas, how to make Zimbabwe a better place. And until that happens, let's not fool ourselves that now we are EFF, we will have a better idea. It's not like great ideas are not there, but you need an enabling environment for that to happen. And that's the beginning for Zimbabwe. Before we blame Chamisa about, you know, parables and so forth, let's have a functional country first. When we do that, we can then compete on how to build the country better and stronger. We can do it. So that's what I would tell you, my brother. And I wish you well as EFF. When you come to Zimbabwe and you compete, hopefully the people will hear your message. But what I will say as an MDC leader is that we want to deliver on behalf of the people, and we want the obstacles that prevent us from giving good delivery to Harare, to Bulawayo, that they get out of the way. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Mr. Wande, we still have a couple of minutes. We have like 7 more minutes to go. Did you want to catch up on some?
No, I think this gentleman, we want them back. We should continue. I like the weight of their offerings. I think they are running around the very important issue, and I'm very pleased with that. So we will arrange that after this program, so that we can have them back in a few weeks or something like that. But what I wanted to ask is concerns what the other gentleman just said a little while ago. What is he still with us? Yeah. Do you have any suggestion as to the way forward? Mr.
Mr. Ndivali is dropped.
Mr.
I don't know what's so wrong with maybe it's the connection. Mr. Ndivali, can you hear us? Oh, he's back. Yeah, he's back. Let me pull him up.
Yeah, there you are. What I wanted to know, to ask you after your last offering, what do you suggest? Do you have any idea as to the way forward, starting right here going forward? What would you suggest that the Zimbabweans do, regardless of party affiliation? Do you have anything that you can tell us about how to go forward from here? You mentioned the splintered opposition. You mentioned the inability of these political parties working together. And Dr. Ranga has also itemized the problems that they as a party are facing in bringing delivery service to the people. From your point of view, standing here looking ahead, what do you think we should do as Zimbabwe?
Right. As Zimbabweans, we must assess our situation in a manner that is inclusive and that is mature and that is revolutionary. What do I mean with that? I mean that we should stop this big brother opposition leader syndrome that we have in Zimbabwe. We must humble ourselves within the opposition. We must come together and have a conversation among ourselves and be able to speak as one. And also we must accept that one of the key elements of our problems in Zimbabwe is that we have had a number of people who have looted our resources corruptly. We have taken over the economy, so we've got what is called the state capture of the economy, the state capture of various institutions across the country. So when we move forward, we must move forward in a manner that has a greater understanding that the first thing is that we are Africans. And we must understand that as Africans, we have capabilities as much as other, people have. So we must begin the process of working as Africans and looking at expanding the influence of Africa, not only Zimbabwe, because for us as the EFF, we believe in a borderless Africa. We believe in a united Africa. So we believe in an Africa that you can bring a Yom Foshua from Cholocho to anywhere. So as a people, I believe that we must begin that process that is revolutionary and non-apologetic about what we own in terms of our resources, in terms of our destiny.
Thank you so much, Mr.
We must,
the last thing,
comrade, just one thing. We must understand that capitalism as a process has failed. It has failed because there are more people who are poor than those who are millionaires. So clearly we've got exploitation of our people. So I believe we must come together and look forward and be honest about our situation.
Right.
Thank you so much. Let's give our other guest the final word. Mr. Ranga, Dr. Ranga, in a few seconds, maybe 1 minute, can you just wrap up and give us your final word?
Sure. Thank you so much for having me, and thank you, my brother. What I would say as a Zimbabwean, now I'm speaking as a Zimbabwean, not an MDCA leader. I think we need to start over, start afresh as Zimbabweans. Let's have a clean slate where we start from zero, so that we say, how do we have a working political system? How do we have a working economic system? How do we have a working healthcare delivery system? How do we make sure our infrastructure is right? How do we make sure that our currency is stable and predictable for business? Those are questions that I think with where things are today in Zimbabwe, it requires all Zimbabweans to stop whatever we are doing and say, how do we start over together as one country? And the moment we do that, all these other things are gonna work just fine. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yes, Mr. Wande, you can
Yes.
go.
Yeah, that was a very lively discussion. Like I said earlier, I enjoyed the ideas that came from both sides, and it's a pity we didn't get Mr. Charumbira. I think he had problems since he was on the road. But I want to thank the two gentlemen for their presence and for all the information that they've given us. We hope that we can get them back again sometime soon. So over to you, Mr. Gande.
Yes, thank you so much, Zimbabwe. Thank you for joining us. Let's meet again, same time, same frequencies on Studio 7 Live Talk. My name is Chris Gande. Good night for joining us.
Good night, and my name is Tarono Kawande. We'll see you next time.
Thank you so much. Good night.